Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one rated sportsbook app out there. Use code DNVR when you sign up for a new account. I'm your host, Rudo, joined by AJ Hafley. Talking more expansion draft today with the NHL season playoffs officially over. First of all, congratulations to Tampa Bay. But we figured it was a good time to take a look at the Atlantic Division, take a look at the two Cup finalists and what they're going to do for expansion. We're going to go a little out of order today, AJ, because I want to do the Cup finalists first. So bear with me.
They in some trouble here.
Yeah. Do you want to start with the big one in Tampa?
Yeah. I had a hard time with this.
This is hard. I was a little bit surprised to see you decided to go with the 8 skaters.
Yeah.
Now, Stamkos and Kucherov both have NMCs. They would protect them anyway. So that one, not a big deal. You went with Point and Cirelli on the forward side, and then you went Hedman, McDonough, Sergachev, and Chernak on the defensive side. Obviously, Vasilevsky in net. I assume Chernak is your fourth protect there, and not McDonough.
Correct.
Okay, so if they wanted to, they could go 7-3-1, leave Chernak available. You have to think Seattle would happily take him. But then you'd be looking at protecting options like Yanni Gourde, Alex Killorn, potentially Blake Coleman, if they want to extend him, which that brings in the other side of the conversation.
Yep.
Seattle needs to lose money.
Yep.
A lot of money they need to get rid of.
Yeah, Tampa Bay has to. Tampa Bay is going to. The reason why I went 4-4 is that it protects what I think is the true core of their team. Vasilevsky, their top 4 on defense, and their biggest difference makers at forward. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of talent left open between Palat, Gourde, Johnson, Killorn. Pat Maroon also an important part of their success. But they can survive losing any single one of those guys. They're very likely going to lose Blake Coleman and Barclay Goodrow in free agency. So, okay, they lose those guys. That does not give them any salary cap relief, though.
Right. And I think there's probably an argument to be made that this might be a better team if they wanted to protect someone like a Gourde or potentially a Palat even over Chernak. But when you look at the salary value, if they lose Chernak, that's $3 million off their cap, essentially. Not bad.
Right. But losing Chernak is also he's become so their secret, if you want to call it that, is that this year Victor Hedman was on their second pairing, and their shutdown pairing was McDonough and Chernak. And they found a great deal of success with that alignment. It worked wonderfully for them. That's the core of their team, in my opinion. Those top 4, because they are the best combination of size, skill, and physicality. And we just saw Ryan McDonough was badass in these playoffs. He was awesome. And between Chernak and Sergachev, you have 2 really quality young players there. And obviously Hedman, he's Hedman.
Yep.
The thing is, the reason that I think the 4-4 is the smart play for them is it tempts. We've talked about this all week. We'll talk about it right now again. Seattle's going to have trouble finding centers. And right now, with this, they've got Yanni Gourde right there. They've got, if they want him, Tyler Johnson right there.
Yep.
They've got Alex Killorn right there. And of those guys, Gourde is the only one that consistently plays center. But the other guys have done it, so they could if they wanted to. The one big name that's sitting here that's just staring them in the face is Cal Foote.
The youngster on D.
First round pick. if they were to expose Chernak and lose Chernak, Foote would just take that spot.
Yep.
Does he fill that role? Maybe. I don't know. And maybe Seattle, maybe Tampa Bay would prefer to find out. They would lose Chernak's contract, lose that money, get a little bit more flexibility, because right now they're still over the cap.
To be clear, they are $85 million is what their projected cap hit is. So even if it was Chernak that Seattle picked, they would still be over the cap after taking that money off. And
Cal Foote is unsigned. So that's money. That's money that they don't know.
If they were to lose a Gord or a Tyler Johnson, I'm sure they would love to ship Tyler Johnson out.
They tried. They put Tyler Johnson twice,
but
they exposed him to the entire league.
If they're able to move one of those $5 million forwards, all of a sudden, look, they still don't have much wiggle room, but they're not actually over the salary cap for next year already. So
they're gonna have to lose money somewhere. Like, they're gonna have to lose one of these guys, and then maybe they pay. If they
extra,
if they give Seattle a first round pick and say, take Andre Palat, $5.3 million. Bam. Take Yanni Gord, basically $5.2 million for the next 4 years.
Yep.
Tyler Johnson's at $5 million for the next 3 years. If they pay a premium to take one of those guys off their hands, they could then turn around and, like, they've got some young players. Like, we saw Matthew Joseph was very good.
Yep.
In their playoff run. Ross Colton was
4 playoff goals.
Yeah, just scored the cup winning goal. Like, the game winning goal in the cup clinching game, I will say.
Yeah.
They've got young guys. Barry Boulay is a guy who has torn apart the AHL. Mitchell Stevens is a really good two-way guy that's on the ascent and has played with the Lightning. Like, the Seattle is pissed they can only take one Lightning player.
Yep.
Because this is
take like 3 dudes from this team if they could. Yeah.
Straight up, like Cal Foote. I mean, we've talked about their desire, their ability to find good defenders around the league, but Cal Foote is 22 years old, a first-round pick, and the only reason he is not a regular on the defense is because they're the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they're just the deepest team in the NHL.
Yep.
They've had the deepest defense in the NHL.
Even if they don't lose a defenseman, you have to think it's a pretty easy spot for him to step in for David Savard.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, he will be on that team next year if they don't take him. So the question that Seattle's going to have to answer here, and I think if I go, because if you go 7-3, and then if they then protected Hedman, Sergachev, and Chernak, and they leave McDonough there, I'm sorry, but if I'm Seattle, I just take him.
Yep, I don't think that would be a hard conversation to have. You have a very quality 24-year-old D-man that's an RFA at the end of his current contract. Tampa would be very sad, and Seattle would be licking their chops over any player like that.
Yeah, if Chernak is exposed, you take him. If McDonough is exposed, you take him. If they're all protected, then you still look at Cal Foote and say, I probably would take that guy. I'm not looking to do Tampa Bay any favors unless they're paying me to do so. And I think I would try and extract maximum value. One first-round pick? No. I'm asking for 2 first-round picks to pass up on Cal Foote and take Yanni Gord.
I mean, look at I think you could get leverage some of that. You said it yourself. Seattle's sad they can only pick one guy. Say, look, give us a first in Barre Boulay to take money off your hands.
Yeah, or a first in Matthew Joseph.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I think Seattle should do. They should, and if Tampa Bay just says, no, we're going to make you take somebody, take the guy take the future guy, take Cal Foote.
Yep. Make them still have a problem.
They're in a really tough spot, because if they do go 7-3, you're gonna, as we've talked, you're gonna have a superior defenseman option open. There are a lot of fun forwards in this group, but none of them. And Tyler Johnson with his ties to the area will be obviously intriguing. But yeah, like Dylan says, if they could get a first and Matthew Joseph in exchange for taking Tyler Johnson, first of all, that's 2 good forwards that they get to drop in there and a first round pick.
Yep.
That would be a fantastic haul for them.
Win-win-win for Seattle there.
And you probably get your first captain in Tyler Johnson, again as a local guy. So I think that would be such good management, such good management.
Tampa has their 22 and 23 firsts. They don't have this year's, but Seattle.
This year's went to Columbus.
Anyway, yeah.
But stocking up on future assets was something that Vegas actually did very, very well. Mm-hmm. Like, we all talk about the 3 first-round picks that they got in their first year, all good and well. The Seattle should be able to replicate that pretty easily. But
Vegas also had 12 top 100 picks in those first 2 years.
Yeah.
They ended up moving out a significant number of them, but they did a very good job of acquiring draft assets from the expansion.
And I think Seattle's in a better position to do so because teams are more desperate to move money.
Yep.
And we'll see what Tampa Bay decides to do here, but they could be in a position where Seattle's is able to get some real value from them.
The thing there, Pickles, is they're not trading Foot. They're trading you stuff to not take Foot. That's the whole thing. Exactly.
They're not going to give up Foot to get rid of that money. I mean, if they do,
slam dunk that one home. All right. Let's look at the Cup losers next in Montreal.
I had a really hard time with this one.
It is a tough one. You're not going to see Tampa Bay level talent here. But look, goaltender and defense, pretty straight no-brainers. Obviously, they have to protect Carey Price, Weber, Petrie, and Edmondson. I guess you could have a conversation about the Edmondson spot if you like Sherratt or something. But
yeah, between Ben Sherratt and then just a younger guy and a guy like Kulak if they wanted. But I think they really value Edmondson highly, just given how he was used in their postseason run.
Yep.
I viewed him as the third guy. He's also younger than Sherratt. They make the same money, and he's signed longer. So, I had him as the last protect on the defense.
He is signed through 2024, whereas the others are a UFA after this coming season. So.
And
then on the forward side, we have Druin, Josh Anderson, Gallagher, Kakaniemi, Tyler Toffoli, Philip Deneau, and Arturi Lehkonen. Things could get a little bit more interesting if they have a line on whether Deneau is hitting free agency or not, but expectations are that he will stay.
We'll see.
If he doesn't stay, then I'm sure we'll be talking about that a lot on the show.
I think that's going to be a really interesting. I think the Deneau thing is going to be a really interesting negotiation as well.
Yep. Most of the other guys that are exposed out there will be pending UFAs. However, there is Paul Byron, who has been on waivers, so it's not
32 years old and signed for 2 more years.
Right. Not great. Or you could look at someone on the younger side, like a Jake Evans or something like that. But
if they did not protect Deneau, I think Evans was the guy that I would protect.
Yeah.
I can't. Oh, this is the one I remember. I was doing this last night.
Here we go.
Yeah, this was the issue, is that pretty much any other alignment of protecting the forwards, of the realistic forwards, then they aren't eligible for. They don't meet the forward exposure requirements. So they could
one signed,
exactly. They could always sign like a Yoel Armia or a Jordan Wheel or somebody, like they can sign somebody.
Throw a 1-year deal at them to make qualification,
exactly. So that then they could turn around and have them be exposed. But I don't really have any, like, these guys are free. Like Tatar is a free agent. Byron is a no thank you. and like they can't at this particular moment they can't expose Jake Evans, and leave Danault off the list. So they're in a really weird spot where they'll probably just have to throw a 1-year deal at somebody to give them a little more flexibility. But right now, this was the only list that I could make.
Yep.
That fulfilled the requirements.
So Danault availability might be interesting, but with what we have now, is it Jake Allen time?
Yeah, and it's Jake Allen. Jake Allen actually. So his cap hit, if you look at his cap hit in the
actual cap hit of it.
Yeah, if you actually look at his new contract, he's only making 2.875. Because if you look at the money that he's making in the Cap Friendly's tool here, it's last year's salary at 4.35.
Yep.
He's only making 2.85 on a 2-year deal. And for me, I'm like and Jake Allen was really, really important for them.
You get 2 years of a 30-year-old goaltender under $3 million that you could feel reasonably comfortable running in a tandem.
He is a pseudo starter. We saw him as St. Louis's starter for a couple of years, and look, he ultimately failed there when Jordan Binnington took that job. But he's shown plenty of ability to be
solid.
one of the best backups in the NHL,
yep.
And a lower end starter.
Can get you by if he's the starter, yeah.
Yeah, you're not in bad position with and especially at that money for 2 years for a 30-year-old Jake Allen. Like, I've looked at Jake Allen and that contract extension since from the day it got signed, and I said, this is easy.
All right.
That's the pick for me. That's always been the pick for Montreal.
And again, unless something crazy happens with Danault and they have a good feeling, Seattle that is has a good feeling that they could get him to sign or something.
The other thing that they could do, you expose Duran.
Sure.
You expose Duran, who did, there are issues there. Signed for 2 more years at $5.5 million. Still just 26 years old. So, and could he go to Seattle, get a fresh start, and be out of the spotlight in Montreal, be out of the spotlight of the expectations that have come with him everywhere he's been around his career, and just be a top 6 guy in Seattle for 2 years at $5.5 million? Look, if Montreal went that route, I would prefer him over Jake Allen.
Me too. If I'm Seattle and they expose Drew in that, I take him every time.
Yeah, and that helps. Montreal. Maybe that helps them re-sign Philip Danault.
Sure. A money move to a certain extent for them if they were to go about it that way.
Yeah, they're not really Montreal's not dying for money. Yeah. They just have lots of guys who are unsigned. Kotkaniemi, Lehkonen, Tatar, Stahl, Danault, Armia, Perry, all are unsigned guys.
They have 7 forwards signed for next year right now.
Yeah. And all of those guys that I just named played roles in their postseason run.
Yep.
Tatar and Kotkaniemi obviously were scratches at the end, but all those guys played a role in their run. So it would be interesting. Like, it's easy to let Stahl go, right? But trying to bring back Danault, try and bring back Armia if they wanted to. Lehkonen and Kotkaniemi are RFAs, so they'll
raises,
probably be back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So interesting. They're in an interesting spot, and I think it's basically lose Jake Allen or expose Jonathan Duran, and Seattle should just take him.
All right. We can take our first period break on that note with Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. Of course, we love them over here. I drink them all the time. You can get it down at the DNVR bar if you like, or keep an eye out for their good company seltzers at a local liquor store near you. Use the Breck Beer Locator online to find it. AJ, I don't know if you would know this question, but how many beer cans do you think get used at every game in Ball Arena? He's thinking hard about it.
I have no idea. So many.
Yeah, it's got to be in like the multiple thousands, right?
I mean, so many.
So
18,000 people go to a game. If even half of them buy beer,
that's 9,000. Yeah. Some of them will be, of course, on tap, but
yeah.
Plenty of those.
Let's just go with a really, really, really low estimate.
Conservative.
Let's say like 1,500.
Sure. So you're talking about 1,500, and that's at Ball Arena alone. So not all of those will be made by the Ball Corporation, but a significant amount will. And then you spread that out to every sporting event in the country, and you're talking about hundreds of thousands of cans that are going every single week, basically. So they need a lot of cans over at Ball Corp, and they are hiring. You can go right now to jobs.ball.com and search for Golden, or text Golden to 7222 to see what is available for employment. They're a great place to work. They actually pay a living wage and all of that. So, check them out. Give them a look. Ball, they're awesome. They also have other things going on than just their aluminum recycling cans, all of that. They also work in the aerospace industry and do things like monitoring resources here on Earth. So give them a look today. Again, text Golden to 77222 and see what they have out there. And, also consider signing up for a membership here at DNVR, as it is expansion draft and draft season. Our coverage is about to ramp up quite a bit. It's already started with the expansion draft. The entry draft coverage is starting next week. So we got a lot of stuff coming your way here. Keep your eyes peeled. Signing up obviously gets you a bunch of amazing stuff, from our awesome shirts to our content to big beers at the DNVR bar. Check us out today. Consider supporting us. Help the Yacht Fund. Thank you for the super chat, Jacob. He says, thoughts on Cooch's post-game press conference? I didn't watch it.
You should.
Is it that good?
It's fun.
Okay, I'll go watch after this.
He's shirtless and drinking and clearly already gone.
Sounds about right.
And just tease off on everybody and everything.
Goes in, yeah.
Yeah, it's stream of consciousness, man. It's awesome.
I love it.
Yeah.
Let him have it, Cooch. You deserve to say whatever you want.
Yep. he had to sit back and listen to people denigrate him all year. He gets the last laugh.
Yep.
So,
all right, let's go to Boston next.
The Nate Landman news today was exciting.
Yeah,
I'm excited that Nate Landman is our first DNVR athlete.
Pumped on it.
Yeah,
it's gonna be dope.
People that aren't familiar with Nate Landman, when he gets drafted in the first round next year, you will be.
Back to the hockey. We're talking Boston. AJ, I'm going to let you take your choices away because it's hashtag Rudo's bladder time.
Okay. So this is, again, excuse me, kind of an interesting, some interesting choices that I had to get made here. I left all of the UFAs, the pending UFAs that would be of interest, namely David Krejci and Taylor Hall. I left them off the protection list. We'll just see how it goes. But I was trying to find a way. Charlie Coyle with the NMC had to be protected. He would be a guy that I would be very middle of the road about leaving off their protection list. But I was trying to find a way to keep Craig Smith protected. Knowing that Taylor Hall loved playing in Boston, David Krejci, longtime Bruin, I just feel like those are two guys they have good advantages to possibly bring back. Taylor Hall's shown himself to be kind of a weird guy in what he wants the last couple of years. So, knowing that, I think he's safe to leave unprotected. I was really trying to find a way to protect Nick Ritchie and Craig Smith. Just keep those guys around. And Jake Debrusk is a guy that was on the trade block this year. Really had a decent postseason. But if Boston is still motivated to move him, that's a guy from Seattle I would be trying to pry out of there.
I mean, you Debrusk is one of those weird situations, right, for Boston, where it's not like the Tyler Johnson situation in Tampa, where they're literally just trying to get rid of the guy. Boston can get value out of Jake Debrusk.
Yeah. The big guy that I left unprotected here is Andre Kasha.
Yep.
And you remember
there was some interest in him from the Avs a little while back.
There was a lot of league-wide interest from him. But the injury issues that he had in Anaheim that we talked about followed him to Boston. And just we'll see here. On defense, this was pretty straightforward. These are the three best defenders, so I just protected them. Jeremy Lauzon is an interesting guy. There's some other guys there too, that I think could spark interest if Seattle really wanted to. But for me, I would be taking the chance on Kasha if they wanted with Trent Frederick, a lower roster player who brings that a really sandpaper element to his game, a real toughness there. That would be okay. He would be fine.
Is this a first? No interest in a defenseman from AJ in Boston?
No, well, I mean, Jeremy Lauzon would be the guy that you would take the look at.
You think so?
But that's he's a good young player. I like him, but
you'd rather take a chance on Kasha or something like that.
Yeah, this is one of those cases where it's like you take the chance on Kasha, you're gonna need forwards at some point,
right?
Like you're gonna need them. I'm with Zaboral. Like if you wanted to do that again, that's fine. They're gonna have their checks on him. It would be a defensible thing to do, but. Again, they're going to be able to get so many defensemen from around the league that where can they get forward talent? Where is the forward talent more intriguing? And for me, it's with a guy like Kasha.
Okay.
But hey, if he's healthy, he's really, really good.
Yeah, and definitely would not complain about taking Kasha. I'm just a little curious because so far we may have picked about 18 defensemen if it were you and I building this team. So
it's true.
We're finally moving towards a forward or two here and there, maybe in the Atlantic.
Yeah. And then Rask I just protected because you got to protect somebody.
Yeah,
and
right. Whatever.
He's a UFA and he said it's Boston or nowhere, so maybe don't protect him if they really wanted to protect one of the two younger goalers. Yeah. Vladimir Booth, then fine. Do that too, I guess. I didn't feel strongly about any of their goaltending.
Yeah. I don't think their goaltending is particularly relevant to Seattle in any case.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and this is another Chris Wagner's right there as a guy that we know is a solid fourth liner. Yep. Yeah. So if you're trying to do that, Trent Frederick, like I said, he's a bottom six guy, but he's young and signed for 2 more years. So he is an easy former first round pick, but he brings the toughness. He could be intriguing too, but if you're taking a chance on the upside and trying to get a star player, it's Kasha.
All right.
I am not out of quarantine yet, Sasha. Tomorrow is my last day in quarantine.
So close.
And then look out, Manitoba.
All right. Let's move into the wasteland of Buffalo. They're protecting a lot of assets that they're likely to trade.
Yeah.
That's about it. The defensive side, fairly easy. You went with Risto, Jokiharju, and Darling. You did leave Colin Miller exposed.
Yeah, who hasn't been any good in Buffalo.
Right. But you could say that of a lot of people in Buffalo.
Yep.
You protected Olmark in net over Carter Hutton. Sure. Jack Eichel, Jeff Skinner, Sam Reinhart, Victor Olofsson, Anders Bjork, Tage Thompson, and Casey Middlestat protected on the forward side. leave some interesting options. Gergensons and Cody Eakin on the forward end, being guys that are signed through the next year. Neat, I guess. Buffalo, is Buffalo kind of just take a guy that you can drop onto your roster and move on?
Yeah, so Buffalo, they've got Gergensons sitting right there. Jake McCabe as a UFA is right there.
I really like McCabe too, but
I do too. But as a UFA, it was
right.
I don't know how they feel about taking UFAs. I'm just not sure.
Why take a UFA, especially when you can sign him in a week anyway?
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about it. Now, a guy like McCabe, in his prime defender, that's going to get a decent contract. Like, okay, okay. But for me, like this is probably if you really wanted to take Gergensons, I protected Anders Bjork because they traded for him at the deadline.
Yep.
He signed for a couple more years, so I figured they would want to at least see what they had with him. But if they leave him unprotected, I would take him as Seattle.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not tempted to take Colin Miller. I'm not tempted to take any of these other defenders unless they like McCabe.
I mean, again,
for a free agent slot.
We keep talking about them needing centers. Is there any hope in the universe that they think maybe Gergensen can get back to close to a 30-point guy? Not feeling it.
Yeah, I mean, Asplund is fine. Like he would be a fine young forward that they could take, and I would have no issues with that. If you drop that guy in there, give him a bigger role, and see how it goes, it would be totally fine with me too.
I think the question there is starting to become just how many young guys can they afford to put on their roster? Because as much as you and I love younger prospects with upside, every NHL team in history loves to add in at least a decent number of vets and experience.
They will need a couple of guys that have been around the block a couple times. And when we do the mock draft and we have the actual lists in hand, and we know a couple of the different moves, fine. Yeah, I mean, until Skinner, there hasn't really been any noise about Skinner being willing to waive the NMC. And if he did, I wouldn't take him.
Me either.
There's just too much money and too much term on that contract to take that chance. If I had a center, $9 million,
man.
If I had a center that I was comfortable dropping him next to, I would take that chance because I've always liked Jeff Skinner. But I
take $9 million for 14 points in 53 games, even in Buffalo. That's so bad.
Yeah, and last year was especially bad for everybody in Buffalo.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of just like, look, I don't think he would have a great renaissance or anything anywhere else, but I think he would be better than that. There's just something wrong in Buffalo.
I hear you. He would be better, but even if he was the best version of himself, you have a hard time justifying $9 million for him.
Look, if he's the best version of himself, he's a 30-goal scorer, and you're overpaying him.
Yeah.
Definitely. But if he's scoring 30 goals, you're at least getting something out of him. $9 million is a lot of money, though.
It's a lot of money, and it's $9 million until he's 35. So,
yeah, it's 6 more years on that deal?
Yep.
Goodness,
it's rough. It is rough out there. So
he did himself really, really well.
He made himself some good money. That is for sure.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on quickly to the other not so hot Zo team in the Atlantic in Detroit.
So I really actually I didn't know what to do with this.
Had some interesting things going on here.
It's just so many old guys.
Yep.
I think this is one of the teams that I just said take a UFA,
move on with life. Yeah.
Yeah, like Take Valtteri Filppula and
for those
take
not
Darren
watching
Helm
on YouTube, protected in goal was Thomas Greiss. Defense was Hronek, Chalowski, and Stetcher. On the forward side, Larkin, Bertuzzi, Vrana, Nemesnikov, Fabry, Rasmussen, and Svechnikov. All of the protects are really pretty darn straightforward to me. You're protecting your RFAs, your guys on contract that aren't over the age of 30, basically.
Yep.
The options are really fairly slim. I guess if you really want Danny DeKeyser, you could get him for a year if you're Seattle.
Then don't. Honestly, take Bobby Ryan.
Sure. Bobby Ryan would be fun.
Take Bobby Ryan and give him a first round, give him a 1-year deal, and then trade him at the deadline. Yeah. Put him in your top 6. Trade him at the deadline to a team that will talk themselves into a veteran presence who can help them on the power play or whatever.
Like me last year. I would have loved Bobby Ryan on the Avs.
Yeah, exactly. Me too.
Sure, like you said, they could do Filppula as a UFA too.
Yeah, and just don't sign the guy and just take him because you're like, well, we have to take somebody.
Yep. Ooh, Sam Gagner would be fun. How about him?
Yeah, Sam Gagner would be another guy. Drop him in somewhere on your team and just be like, all right, this is fine.
See if he plays well and somebody wants to give us something for him in 6 months.
Yep.
So, Detroit, straightforward, easy. Turns out when you're a terrible team, there's not a whole lot interesting that can be taken from you.
Well, you say that, and Ottawa was the team I struggled the most with so far.
Ottawa's interesting, right? Because they've been bad for long enough that they have a big cavalcade of young guys.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to them in a second, though. We do need to take our second period break before we jump in, as we are brought to you by Illegal Pete's. They have amazing burritos. Another place that's just down by the DNVR bar. If you want to pick up a little Illegal Pete's burrito, bring it on over and have yourself a beer. Come on down for the fight on Saturday. Should be fun with some Illegal Pete's. My personal favorites, their steak and potatoes. Can't go wrong with that. You can also get their house margs, which are delicious if you want to drink. They're still doing the deal where if you bring in any ticket stub from an event that day in Colorado, you can get yourself a good deal, either a supersized margarita or a little bit of something off a drink, something like that. So check out Illegal Pete's. They're awesome and delicious. We're also brought to y'all by the Colorado XOs. They are an experimental rugby team over at Infinity Park in Glendale, which, by the way, also hosts the men's and women's national teams. So, the Olympics is coming up in a couple weeks. That's kind of where the U.S. teams play to practice for the Olympics. Kind of a big deal. I don't know if you've heard about the Olympics, but you can check it out at Infinity Park in Glendale. They also have a bunch of other amazing events there, including movie nights and things like that. I believe the next one is coming up this weekend. Let me actually look up the dates on it. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is coming up on July 12th, so I guess that's this coming Monday. Gates open at 6 p.m.
The only good Spider-Man movie.
I think we all agree that is the best Spider-Man movie out there. So jump on it, go see it, hang out in Infinity Park at Glendale. They also have a Rugby Sevens tournament coming up in late August. So it's family friendly, great outing for everybody to come watch some rugby, drink some beers, have a good time. All right. Lastly, we are brought to you by Strava Craft Coffee, the CBD-infused coffee that has really changed lives. You can head on over to our bar and get it cold brew, or get it online, get 25% off with code DNVR25. If you really like it, their subscription service will get you 20% off every single time you buy. All right. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Let's get back to Ottawa here. Should be an interesting team. I think it'll definitely come up AJ's alley, as I was saying, where they have a lot of young kids to work with and a lot of options in that way.
I didn't know what to do with these guys. There were so many, I protected some dudes, and I have no confidence whatsoever beyond Connor White, Connor Brown, Brady Tkachuk, and Drink Batherson.
Yep.
All the other guys, you could make arguments for protecting somebody else over them.
Yep.
Leaving Austin Watson and Nick Paul unprotected were both like, I kind of threw my hands up in the air and was like,
gotta leave somebody.
I don't really like leaving Logan Brown unprotected for Nick Paul would be a completely justifiable thing to do. Like Chris Tierney, like he's an okay NHL player. If they wanted to again protect a Nick Paul over them, that would be fine. In net so on defense, you had to protect. Again, they're in the same position that Montreal was. Shabbat, Zaitsev, and Mete were the only guys that I could protect because they have to
meet qualifications.
Yeah, Josh Brown is the only other guy that they have to. I mean, I guess I could protect Josh Brown and leave Thomas Shabbat open, but I'm not doing that.
Theoretically, you could protect Josh Brown and they could give a 1-year deal to Mete, right? But
yeah, like so that's another situation where like they're gonna need to sign somebody if they want a different protection list. But on defense, that's where it is.
Yep.
So it's whatever. Like there were so many coin flips on this one that I was just like, I don't know. This is the team that I have by far the least confidence in because there were so many different options that you could justify in either direction. Matt Murray and net was basically just like, hey, they made a big commitment to him. This is the guy. He got outplayed by Gustafsson last year, so they could easily protect Gustafsson, and they could expose the Matt Murray money and to try and entice Seattle to take that chance.
I imagine they wouldn't do that. Seattle, that is. I don't know why they would take Matt Murray at over $6 million.
Yeah, right. Like, that's the thing, is like, it's okay. It's fine. Whereas they could easily take Gustafsson. That would be fine. Taking him in to be the guy in net. But sure, if you want to expose Zaitsev and protect Brown, that's fine too. That's all I'm saying is that they had to make they have to protect two of Shabbat and Zaitsev, and they have to and Brown. They have to protect two of them and expose one of them.
Yep.
Whatever. Obviously, Shabbat is the easy one. If you feel that strongly about Brown and Zaitsev, look, neither one of those guys is getting taken. It doesn't matter.
The way this lineup is shaking out is wait till July 17th, see which forwards they protect, and take the one that's out there.
Yep. Like if they expose Dadonov because of his age and the money and the 2 years, take Dadonov.
Yep.
Great. If they expose Nick Paul, you take Nick Paul. If they expose Austin Watson, you take that guy. If they expose Logan Brown, you take that guy. If you expose Chris Tierney, you take that guy. Like it is seriously not difficult.
I agree.
It really like picking nits over the defensive alignment won't matter. None of those guys are getting taken. Those should not be the picks, I should say. I don't want to definitively say that those are not the guys getting taken and then watch Zaitsev get taken.
It's not hard to go back and watch the other shows we've done this week and see, oh, there are a lot of decent defensemen out there that are better than what you can get from Ottawa.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's the same. It's the same thing. This is one where the forwards is the fertile ground, or the goaltender. If you really feel strongly about the goaltender, remember you got to take 3 of them. So you're gonna have to go in somewhere on a guy that's not necessarily going to be in the NHL.
Yep.
So we'll see. Yes, as Chad has said, Alex, the 17th. Is the day in which they will submit the lists, and we will get them, and we will be able to break them down, and I will be in Nebraska that day. So naturally, that's how things work out.
Well, I'm sure we'll break it down big time on our mock once we.
Yeah, I'm sure that our following Monday show we will be breaking it down from an Avalanche perspective, who they protected, and then looking at it, and then our mock draft, obviously, which is that Tuesday, we will go all in.
Exactly. All right, let's get to our final team here, I believe. Yes, this is our final team in the Florida Panthers. Florida is a bit of an interesting spot Obviously, it starts with the goaltender spot because Bobrovsky does have an NMC. So there is the Dreger conversation. He is, however, a UFA. On defense,
Last night I could not remember Sergei Bobrovsky's first name. I've called him Bob for such a long time that I was just like, what's Bob's first name?
His first name is the number one cop. All right.
Top cop? Top cop Bob?
Top cop Bob. On defense, you're acting under the assumption that Yandel is getting waived, or rather is waiving his NMC, protecting Ekblad, Weegar, and Nudivara. And then on the forward side, you have Barkov, Huberdeau, Bennett, Vetrano, Wenberg, Duclair, and Verhaeghe.
Did I spell his name right?
Probably not. Oh, you did. Good job.
Oh, I nailed it.
Easy money on that one. Some interesting things.
I wrote Brecton. I wrote Sasha because he goes by both Sasha and Alexander, but I put Sasha specifically on this list because it was shorter.
I've always called him Sasha. So
have I.
Thank you for the $10 more to the yacht fund, Dylan. Much appreciated. $10 at a time, baby.
Dude, I tell you what. So how long is it going to take us if we do $10 a day, 5 days a week? How long is it going to take us to get to 22 million?
2,500 will be will be somewhere in the ballpark of owning a yacht. I think at that rate.
Yeah, baby.
So, yeah, we talked about Dreger as a pending UFA. Could be interesting for them. On the defensive side, you also have Brandon Montour as a pending UFA, but you could look at Strawman if you wanted. I don't know why you would. And then,
yeah, at forward, I protected Wenberg and left Hornquist unprotected. Yeah. Hornquist is a guy that is really, 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 really well liked in the NHL. Yep. Teams absolutely love that guy. And I only am emphasizing that because if he gets unprotected, you could make a good case for him. $5.3 million for just 2 more years. It's not a big commitment. Very, very, very easy for Seattle to just be like...
Exactly one of those veteran guys we were talking about 2 teams ago also.
Yeah. Exactly that kind of guy would be fine. Yeah, we had it. Yeah, I spelled Verhaeghe right.
Easy. Thank you for the $20, Sasha. Now we'll have our yacht in 2,200 instead of 2,500.
Yo, my room at home is in the basement where there are no windows, so there is no natural light, homie.
Just ground outside that window. But yeah, Hornquist would make a ton of sense that way. Asiari, an option, as you said. They could go with something like Lucas Wallmark if they were really desperate for a center.
Yeah. Like Noel Acciari is a guy that's actually been pretty effective for them that they could decide to actually protect. Would be okay. In this one, I have Keith Yandel waiving his NMC. So Keith Yandel for 2 years at 6.3. Radko Gudas at 2.5, signed for 2 more years. Either one of those guys would probably be where I would start.
Gudas, definitely a journeyman.
Depending on their evaluation of Dreger. If they really, really like Dreger,
be aggressive with him.
Look, a Dreger, Jake Allen tandem,
yeah,
could be pretty competitive.
Play the hot hand with those two,
and then it gives you a perfect excuse to take Connor Ingram.
Okay, here we go again. If theoretically, let's say Yandel doesn't waive, are you exposing Weegar or Nudivara?
Nudivara, and then if I'm Seattle, I take Nudivara. Nudivara is one of the more underrated guys around the league, I think.
All right,
he's very, very good. Whereas the jig is up on Mackenzie Weegar. He got Norris
too good now. Yeah,
yeah. The people are now aware that he is as good as he is.
All right. Well, Awesome. I guess that's just about it for the Atlantic. Yeah.
We have one more.
Oh, do we have one more? Did I forget one?
Yeah. You forgot Toronto.
Oh yeah, right. The team that that everyone thinks about but me. Toronto is very nice. I had not seen this graphic yet. I wasn't ready for that. Protecting Jack Campbell and net. Freddie's a UFA, so it makes sense.
Yeah, and Jack Campbell took his job. So
pretty much did take his job there. Defensively, they were going with Riley, Muzzin, and Brody. And then on the forward side, obviously Matthews, JT, Marner, Nylander. At the bottom of it, you get a little bit more conversation. Hyman, Engvall, and Kerfoot is what AJ is going with.
This is another one where not a lot of wiggle room in terms of guys that
they have to expose.
Yeah. You could get away with one or two alterations. Engvall could easily be Spezza, right? Like I don't think Seattle's
or whatever. Yeah,
I don't think Seattle's taking Jason Spezza or Wayne Simmons, so I wasn't too worried about it.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah, Toronto's kind of a weird one because they're another team that had, like you said, a lot of the people they aren't going to protect are just pending UFAs, right?
Well, and they just signed Travis Dermott to a 2-year extension today.
Yep.
And this is a team that could easily go 4-4, where they either choose to protect Dermott or Justin Holl.
But then they're always big 4 forwards, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. In which case, Alexander Kerfoot is the easy pick there.
That'd be a slam dunk, solid center that you can drop.
And another guy from the area.
Yep.
BC kid. So, that would be the other option. I didn't feel strongly about 7-3 versus 4-4.
Sure.
Because for me, if it's either take Kerfoot if they go 4-4 and he's the guy that they expose, or if in this alignment I probably just take Travis Dermott. Honestly,
I would think Dermott is the obvious choice unless they really want an old guy who's not good at hockey anymore, I guess. But
which one?
Either Simmons or Spezza.
They're
both old and bad.
Okay, I got you.
Thank you for the $5.
Yeah, if they protect Hall, then that's fine.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
Like again, super easy. Just take the other guy.
Yep.
Like, but if it's 4-4, like if it's 4-4, it has to be Kerfoot. He's more valuable than any of these guys on defense. It wouldn't matter Hole or Dermott because you're taking Kerfoot.
Yep. Kerfoot probably is a top 6 center for them.
Yeah.
So those are going to be tough to come by for Seattle. If Kerfoot's out there, it's just
and we saw, and with Kerfoot, his versatility is legit, man. Like he can play.
Yep.
He can play all over your forward core. He can power play. He can penalty kill. He can do a little bit of everything. For a team, and he's a guy that I just feel I miss him in Colorado.
Yep.
Looking back on that deal, would rather JT have been the one to go.
How much better would that look if it was JT and not Kerfoot? Yeah. But you can't change the past. You can't know the future necessarily.
Yeah.
It's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Now that I've made the entire city of Toronto mad about ignoring their hockey team, we're actually done with today's show. Thank you, everyone, for watching, listening, consuming the podcast however you might. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. That helps us out a bunch, especially in the off-season, as we start posting some other content, diving into things. Any final thoughts as we've gone through 3/4 of the league now with the expansion draft, AJ?
Worried about how they're going to find the forward talent, especially down the middle. I really don't know. they're not gonna have a top center, and whoever if they take Matty Beniers or Kent Johnson second overall, that guy's gonna have a clear path to the NHL immediately, especially because they already have an NCAA season under their belt. If they go with a defender, they'll have time on him. But if they want to go with one of the centers in the actual draft, even if they went with Eklund, who's a wing,
bring him up and do
it. They're not going to have any roadblocks at forward for whoever they take second. But if they take a defender, I think it's going to be that guy's probably going to go back.
All right.
Yeah, like Jason Spezza's fine. He's fine for what he is at this point.
Is he a serviceable NHLer? Yes. Is he
yeah.
Good? No.
Yeah, but it's if you're Seattle, he's meaningless. His existence is meaningless to you.
Yeah. All right. So, on that note, we're out of here. We'll be back Friday with the Metropolitan. It might be me. It may be AJ and Evan or something else because dentists hate me or something. I don't know. Anyway, thank you for watching.
Rudo's getting his face worked on tomorrow.
Yeah, I have to get all my teeth blown up, basically. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.